Happy Thursday, everybody. Coming in with you fresh in the morning. Some hair cap insights. I'm still in bed. Breaking my rule. Usually don't touch my phone until after I've done my morning routine. And that's just because phones suck you into the world of everything. And I like to do that. But this felt really fresh. And I want to talk about it. It was in my dreams. It was in my journaling, which is attachment, detachment, and non-attachment. What's the difference? What is it? So, attachment, first of all, is a metaphor. It's a metaphor, right? Psychology is a field of studying the thoughts and emotions and the sensations of the mind. It's a whole domain of metaphysics, really, because there's a whole reality in the mind. And it's really hard to talk about those things sometimes. So, we create metaphors, or psychologists and psychotherapists create metaphors to try to simplify things. And so, attachment, literally in physical reality, it's when something is attached to something else, right? So like my arm is attached to my body. And we use it as a metaphor for things that are important to us and hold meaning to us, right? It doesn't mean that there's actually like a bond in our brain or in our heart or something like in physical reality. And it's, so we just gotta, recognize that it's a metaphor to talk about something is important to me. It really holds meaning for me, right? And I value this thing, and it furthermore actually might have a sense of like connection to who I am. Like who I am, my identity is connected to this thing, this person, this idea, this place. I'm attached to it, right? So attachment is when we begin to identify who we are, our sense of do I belong? Do I matter? Right? Like who am I? Right? These questions start to be answered by these persons, places, and things that exist outside of us. And that's attachment. And it's really not that big a deal. It's very natural. Like the caveman was in his cave and he got attached to his cave because like, this is where I live. This is where I sleep. This is where I make babies. This is where I have my little fur, out, and it's comfortable and cozy and I'm safe from lions and hyenas and snakes, like this is my cave. I'm attached to it, right? Cool. Be attached to your cave. Like all good. The reason that so many spiritual systems like Buddhism and Hinduism and Vedanta and Taoism and even Sufism and mystic traditions of Christianity and Judaism talk about attachment so much is because, well, when you're attached to something and you identify with it and your sense of who you are is connected to it, whenever you inevitably lose that relationship to it, and that doesn't mean it's gone, but the relationship you have to it changes, you feel sadness or grief. Because it's like your brain was like, this is a part of who I am. I am my room and my things and my girlfriend and my boyfriend and my husband and my children and my mom and my dad and, my career. Things that really matter to you. Those are me. That's me. I'm the sum of these things, right? And when we lose them, we experience grief. And grief is really the realization, and it's almost sometimes a sorrowful realization that you are not those things. You're just you. You're just you. You're not even your body. You lose your arm, you grieve your arm. You lose your leg, you grieve your leg. You get cancer and you grieve your life and the future that you thought you were going to have because you were attached to it. You're like, I'm going to have this whole future. And then suddenly, physical reality, the only rules is that nothing is promised. Everything's changing. It's changing unpredictably and things take energy. Can't do it all, and it's okay because we then find the things that are most important to us. And, if we are so lucky to live a meaningful life, it's really just because we spent our limited energy on the things that matter the most to us and give us the most meaning. And we were able to let go of the things that didn't. And so that's really what non-attachment is. It's when you're not identifying yourself and thinking like, I'm not enough and I'm not complete without these certain things, right? Like I could say I'm non-attached to, this pillow. I like it, but if I lost this pillow, I'm going to be okay. I'm not really going to grieve it for very long. Let's get another pillow, right? Whereas I couldn't necessarily say I'm non-attached to my public persona. Let's keep it vulnerable with you. Like there's an attack. Like if I were to like, if and when when that feels hurt, and something gets said about me, or I worry about like what people think about me, I feel sadness and grief and anxiety and these things because I am attaching and identifying who I am with that. Similarly with my sister and my dad, and one with my mom, before she passed, which is why I was in therapy talking about attachment yesterday. So, those are things that are really important. And, I'm also pretty attached to my productivity planner. Every day I use that. And if I lost it, I'd be like, So, if I were to pretend like I'm not attached to those things, if I were to fake non-attachment, to pretend like my relationship to my musical instruments, my ngoni, for example, over there, right? If I were to pretend that my relationship to my instruments was the same as my relationship to this pillow, which I'm not attached to, I'd be lying. First of all, I'd be untruthful to myself. I'd be pretending. It's a pretense. What that is called is detachment. Detachment is when we're pretending like we don't care about things that we actually do. We're pretending like we're not identifying and putting our sense of meaning and worth into things, for example. Not necessarily just meaning and worth, but just connecting to these things and relating to them in this sense of this is part of me, right? When we actually are, because we're afraid of losing them. We're afraid of the grief and the sorrow and the sadness that we'll experience when inevitably that thing is gone. It's like, this relationship is cool, but, not a big deal, right? Or, like this job's cool, but like whatever. Or like this opportunity, we're like really, because it matters to us, and like being vulnerable and like grieving and sadness, these are things that we're not taught to like really embrace, but they're really a part of life. And so we can, I especially experience this among other men and as a man, because just having emotions and being attached to things and being sentimental, all these things are very not manly, right? But it's everybody, because we've all experienced that grief as a child, and we get told as kids, like, oh, stop crying, oh, baby. It's like, being sad and grieving and loss and death and these things, we don't talk about them, and so they're so scary and bad and unknown, So we tend to detach to things, pretend like we're not attached, but really, we're going to be attached, so we might as well securely attach, right? Where it's like, okay, I really care about this thing. It's really important to me. It's like part of my sense of belonging and my sense of like who I am, and a bit of even, my sense of do I matter, right? But I know that deep down, my sense of dignifiedness, my dignity, and a sense of who I truly am is not reliant on this thing, right? Like, and I'm trying to be it as I say it here, because it's a lot easier said than done. But like my ukulele, it's like I could lose it, and I could lose my fingers and not even be able to play anymore. And I'd grieve, because I'd really for a moment be like, who am I? And it would be non-attachment, not when I say in my head, okay, I'll be okay, but it's like when I've actually finished grieving my fingers and I'm like, okay, now I don't play this instrument anymore. And it's like once I've returned to like, okay, but who I truly am is still here. I'm still Mazen. I'm still not even Mazen, because Mazen is an idea of who I am, but like I'm me, and I'm whole and I'm complete without any external thing. Even this body that I'll lose one day, that's when that's not attachment. And so, yeah, don't pretend like you're there when you're not, just because it's not a fake it till you make it thing, because, until we make it to that thing with that thing, and it's even momentary sometimes, it might be healthy to recognize that we're actually attached to this thing. So if we lose it, let's make some time to grieve it. Be that natural human experience. So, it's very natural to grieve things. It's very natural to be attached to things, Don't beat yourself up about it, I say to myself. Have a little self-compassion, have compassion for others when we're attached to things, because, the alternative is just really exhausting, judging them, judging ourselves. Like, might as well have compassion, really. It's pragmatic. I love you. Hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching. Goodness gracious, this was long. But good morning. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and love what you love, Feel it.